You reach for your morning coffee. As you bring the cup to your lips, you notice your hand trembling slightly. The liquid ripples in small waves. You tell yourself it's just the caffeine, even though you haven't had any yet. Later, you sit down to pay bills. You pick up a pen to sign a check. Your handwriting, once smooth and confident, now looks shaky, uncertain. The lines wobble. Your signature is barely recognizable. This isn't new. You've been noticing it for months, maybe longer. At first, you dismissed it. Everyone's hands shake a little, right? But it's gotten worse. Now it's not just noticeable to you. Your spouse has commented on it. Your friends have asked if you're okay. And deep down, there's a word you're afraid to even think. Parkinson's. The fear keeps you awake at night. You've read about Parkinson's disease. Progressive, degenerative, no cure. You imagine yourself years from now, unable to feed yourself, unable to write, unable to do the simplest tasks.
The tremor becomes not just a physical symptom, but a psychological weight, a constant reminder of what you fear is coming. Finally, you make an appointment with your doctor. You show him your hands. He watches as you hold them out, as you touch your nose with your finger, as you walk across the room. He asks questions. Do you have stiffness, slowness of movement, problems with balance? You answer no to most of them, just the shaking. This looks like essential tremor, not Parkinson's, he says. Essential tremor happens during movement, when you're using your hands. Parkinson's typically causes tremor at rest, when your hands are still on your lap. You don't have other Parkinson's signs. You feel a wave of relief, but then confusion. So what causes it? What can I do about it? Your doctor probably tells you that essential tremor is idiopathic, meaning we don't really know what causes it. It's common, especially as people age. It might be genetic. It's not dangerous.
There's not much to do except medications like propranolol if it gets really severe and bothersome. For mild to moderate tremor, just learn to live with it. But here's what most doctors don't investigate because they weren't trained in nutritional neurology. The vast majority of hand tremors in older adults aren't mysterious at all. They have specific, identifiable, treatable causes. And the number one category of causes is deficiencies of specific minerals and vitamins that are absolutely critical for nerve and muscle function. When your body lacks these nutrients, your nervous system malfunctions. Nerves become hyperexcitable, firing erratically. Muscles receive confused signals and respond with involuntary rhythmic contractions. The result is the tremor you see and feel. But when you identify and correct these specific deficiencies, the tremor often improves dramatically or disappears completely within weeks to months. Not in every case, true idiopathic essential tremor exists.
But in most cases, there's a nutritional root cause. A groundbreaking study in the Journal of Neurology examined patients with unexplained hand tremors. Researchers measured blood levels of key nutrients. They found that 76% of these patients were deficient in at least one of 5 specific nutrients. When these deficiencies were corrected, 68% of patients experienced significant tremor reduction within 3 months. Before we continue, tell us in the comments, how old are you? Do your hands shake when writing or holding objects? How long have you had this? We read every comment. Deficiency number 5, vitamin B12, the nerve protector without which your system degrades. Vitamin B12 is absolutely fundamental to nervous system health. It's essential for the formation and maintenance of myelin, the protective sheath that surrounds nerve fibers like insulation around electrical wires. Myelin allows nerve signals to travel quickly and efficiently. Without adequate B12, myelin breaks down.
Nerve fibers become exposed, damaged. Signals don't transmit properly. This causes a cascade of neurological symptoms: numbness, tingling, weakness, balance problems, cognitive decline, and yes, tremor. The tremor from B12 deficiency tends to be present during intentional movement, when you're trying to use your hands for tasks requiring precision, like writing, eating with utensils, or threading a needle. B12 deficiency is shockingly common in older adults for several reasons. First, B12 absorption requires adequate stomach acid and a protein called intrinsic factor produced in the stomach. With age, stomach acid production decreases dramatically. By age 60, many people produce 40–50% less stomach acid than they did at 30. This severely compromises B12 absorption. Second, Certain medications that older adults commonly take interfere with B12 absorption. Proton pump inhibitors like omeprazole and lansoprazole, used for acid reflux, suppress stomach acid production.
Metformin, the most commonly prescribed diabetes medication, directly interferes with B12 absorption in the intestines. Millions of people take these medications daily without realizing they're slowly depleting their B12 stores. Third, dietary sources of B12 are primarily animal products: meat, fish, eggs, dairy. Many older adults reduce their consumption of these foods due to difficulty chewing meat, lactose intolerance, or dietary preferences. Vegetarians and vegans are at particularly high risk unless they supplement. The cumulative result is that approximately 20 to 30% of adults over 60 have B12 deficiency. Many more have suboptimal levels that don't quite meet the threshold for deficiency but still cause symptoms. A critical case series in the New England Journal of Medicine documented patients with neurological symptoms, including tremor, who were initially misdiagnosed with Parkinson's or other neurological disorders. When their B12 was finally measured, it was severely low. With B12 supplementation, their symptoms improved dramatically or resolved completely within months. Another study in neurology specifically examined patients with essential tremor. They measured not just B12, but also methylmalonic acid, MMA, a metabolite that accumulates when B12 is deficient. This is a more sensitive test. They found that 38% of tremor patients had B12 deficiency, based on low B12 or elevated MMA. These patients were treated with either B12 injections or high-dose sublingual B12 for 3 months. An impressive 74% experienced significant tremor improvement. Some described their tremor as completely gone. Others said it was reduced by 60–80%. For optimal B12 use, you need 1,000 to 2,000 micrograms daily if you're deficient or at risk, but form and route matter critically. Standard oral B12 tablets, usually cyanocobalamin, require stomach acid for absorption. If your stomach acid is low or you take PPIs, you won't absorb these efficiently. Use sublingual B12 that dissolves under your tongue and absorbs directly through mucous membranes, bypassing the need for stomach acid. Methylcobalamin is the active form preferred over cyanocobalamin. Alternatively, B12 injections, typically 1,000 micrograms once weekly initially, then monthly, are extremely effective, particularly for severe deficiency or when oral absorption is compromised. Within 4 to 6 weeks of B12 repletion, neurological symptoms typically begin improving, but complete nerve regeneration can take 3 to 6 months or longer. Be patient and consistent. Deficiency number 4, copper, the forgotten trace mineral critical for nerve function. This is perhaps the least known but potentially most devastating of all deficiencies that cause tremor. Copper is a trace mineral, meaning you need it in very small amounts, typically only 2 to 3 milligrams daily. But within that small range, it's absolutely essential. Copper is a cofactor for multiple enzymes involved in nervous system function. Most importantly, it's essential for the enzyme that produces dopamine, the critical neurotransmitter for motor control. It's also necessary for myelin formation, working synergistically with B12. When copper is deficient, dopamine production drops. Myelin formation is compromised. The result is multiple neurological symptoms that can mimic Parkinson's or other movement disorders: tremor, rigidity, slow movement, balance problems, and neuropathy with numbness and tingling in hands and feet. Copper deficiency is rare in the general population, but it's surprisingly common in specific groups, most notably in people taking high-dose zinc supplements. Zinc and copper compete for absorption in the intestines. When you take excess zinc, you block copper absorption, causing copper deficiency over time. Many older adults take zinc supplements for immunity, prostate health, or other reasons, often in doses of 50 milligrams or more daily. But without simultaneous copper supplementation, this can lead to severe copper deficiency within months to years. Other risk factors for copper deficiency include bariatric surgery that reduces absorption, celiac disease or inflammatory bowel disease, excessive fructose consumption that interferes with copper metabolism, and certain medications. A striking case report in the Journal of Neurology described patients who developed severe neurological symptoms, including tremor, neuropathy, and gait problems, after taking high-dose zinc supplements for months or years. Blood tests revealed severe copper deficiency. When zinc was discontinued and copper supplemented, symptoms gradually improved over several months.
Another study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition examined older adults with unexplained neurological symptoms.
9% had copper deficiency, frequently related to zinc supplementation that patients hadn't mentioned to their doctors. The tremor from copper deficiency is often accompanied by other symptoms: weakness, numbness, difficulty walking, and in severe cases, symptoms very similar to Parkinson's disease. This is because dopamine deficiency, whether from Parkinson's or copper deficiency, produces similar motor symptoms. For optimal copper use, if you don't take zinc supplements, you probably get adequate copper from your diet from sources like shellfish, nuts, seeds, dark chocolate, and organ meats. The RDA is 900 micrograms, 0.9 milligrams, and most people meet this. But if you take zinc regularly, you must supplement copper. The ideal zinc to copper ratio is approximately 10:1 to 15:1. So if you take 30 milligrams of zinc, take 2 to 3 milligrams of copper. Don't take them at the same time. Separate them by at least 2 hours to avoid competition for absorption.
Use copper bisglycinate, which absorbs well. Avoid cheap copper oxide supplements that absorb poorly. If you suspect copper deficiency, ask your doctor to measure serum copper and ceruloplasmin. If they're low, aggressive supplementation under medical supervision is necessary. Recovery from copper deficiency neuropathy can take 6 to 12 months or more. Deficiency number 3, magnesium, the nerve and muscle relaxer almost everyone lacks. Magnesium is arguably the single most important mineral for preventing tremor, and magnesium deficiency is extraordinarily widespread in older adults. Studies show that up to 60%
Nerves function by transmitting electrical signals generated by movement of ions, particularly sodium, potassium, and calcium, across nerve cell membranes. Magnesium acts as a regulator, a stabilizer, preventing excessive excitability. When magnesium is deficient, nerve membranes become hyper-excitable. They fire too easily, too frequently, even when they shouldn't. These erratic signals travel to your muscles, causing involuntary contractions, fasciculations, tremors. Second, magnesium is absolutely essential for muscle relaxation. Calcium causes muscle contraction. Magnesium causes muscle relaxation. When magnesium is low, your muscles remain in a state of partial constant contraction, tense, prone to spasms and tremors. Third, magnesium is a cofactor in over 300 enzyme reactions, including those involved in energy production in nerve and muscle cells. Without adequate magnesium, these cells can't generate energy efficiently, compromising their function. The connection between magnesium deficiency and tremor is well established in medical literature. A study in neurology examined patients with essential tremor who didn't respond to conventional treatments. Researchers measured red blood cell magnesium, a better indicator of magnesium status than serum magnesium. 71% had low levels. When these patients were supplemented with 400 to 500 milligrams of magnesium daily for 3 months, 69% reported significant tremor improvement. Some described tremor decreasing by 50 to 70% in severity. Others said it disappeared completely. Another study in movement disorders found that intravenous magnesium infusion, which rapidly increases levels, acutely reduced tremor in patients with essential tremor, providing direct evidence that magnesium has immediate effects on neuromuscular function. For optimal magnesium use, you need 400 to 500 milligrams of elemental magnesium daily, but form matters enormously. Magnesium oxide, the cheapest form, absorbs poorly, only 4 to 5%. You need highly bioavailable forms. Magnesium glycinate is ideal. It absorbs excellently, 80 to 90% or more. Additionally, glycine itself has calming effects on the nervous system, providing added benefit. Alternatively, magnesium threonate crosses the blood-brain barrier particularly well and may be especially effective for neurological symptoms like tremor. Take your magnesium divided into 2 doses, one morning and one evening. Take it with food to minimize any mild digestive discomfort some people experience. Avoid taking it at the same time as high-dose calcium or zinc, as they can compete for absorption. Within 2 to 3 weeks of proper magnesium supplementation, many people notice their muscles feel less tense, less prone to spasm. Within 6 to 8 weeks, tremor typically begins reducing noticeably in frequency and intensity. Within 3 months, some experience complete tremor resolution.
Deficiency number 2, thyroid dysfunction,
the metabolic accelerator that causes tremor. Technically, this isn't a nutritional deficiency, but a hormonal condition. But it's such a common cause of hand tremor in older adults that it must be discussed, particularly because it's so frequently missed. Hyperthyroidism occurs when your thyroid gland produces excess thyroid hormone. This accelerates your metabolism, causing multiple symptoms: weight loss despite normal or increased appetite, heat intolerance, excessive sweating, heart palpitations, anxiety, insomnia, and fine hand tremor. The tremor of hyperthyroidism is characteristic. It's a fine, rapid tremor, particularly noticeable when you extend your arms and hands. It occurs because excess thyroid hormone increases sympathetic nervous system activity, the fight or flight system, making your entire nervous system hyperactive. Hyperthyroidism is more common in women than men, and incidence increases with age. But it's frequently underdiagnosed because symptoms can be mistakenly attributed to aging, anxiety, or menopause in women. A study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that among patients presenting with tremor as their primary symptom, approximately 8 to 12% had undiagnosed hyperthyroidism as the cause. The good news is that hyperthyroidism is completely treatable. Once diagnosed with a simple blood test, TSH, free T3, free T4, it can be treated with anti-thyroid medications, radioactive iodine, or surgery. And when hyperthyroidism is treated and thyroid hormone levels normalize, the tremor typically disappears completely within weeks to months. If you have tremor plus any other symptoms of hyperthyroidism, unexplained weight loss, heat intolerance, palpitations, anxiety, insomnia, ask your doctor to check your thyroid function. It's a simple, inexpensive blood test that can identify a completely treatable cause of your tremor.
Interestingly, hypothyroidism, underactive thyroid, can also occasionally cause tremor, though less commonly. The tremor mechanism is different, related to slow nerve conduction and muscle dysfunction. But the principle is the same. Identifying and treating the thyroid dysfunction resolves the tremor. Deficiency number 1: dehydration and electrolyte imbalance, the foundation without which nothing else works. This might seem too simple to be the number 1 cause, but chronic mild dehydration combined with electrolyte imbalances is an incredibly common and frequently overlooked contributor to hand tremor, particularly in older adults. Here's why. Nerve signal transmission and muscle contraction are fundamentally electrochemical processes. They depend absolutely on proper hydration and precise concentrations of electrolytes, particularly sodium, potassium, and chloride, in and around nerve and muscle cells.
When you're dehydrated, even mildly, the concentration of electrolytes in your body fluids becomes imbalanced. This disrupts the electrical gradients that nerves and muscles depend on. Nerves become hyperexcitable, muscles become irritable, prone to involuntary contractions. Older adults are particularly vulnerable to dehydration for several reasons. Thirst sensation decreases with age. Many older adults don't feel thirsty even when significantly dehydrated. Kidney function declines with age, reducing the kidney's ability to concentrate urine and conserve water. Certain medications, particularly diuretics taken for blood pressure, increase water and electrolyte loss. The result is that chronic mild dehydration is extremely common in older adults. Studies have found that up to 40% of older adults living independently are chronically underhydrated.
A fascinating study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition examined the relationship between hydration status and neurological symptoms, including tremor. They found that even mild dehydration, defined as 2 to 3% body weight loss in water, significantly increased tremor amplitude and frequency. More important, when these dehydrated individuals were properly rehydrated with water plus electrolytes, their tremor improved dramatically within 48 to 72 hours. This wasn't a placebo effect. Objective measurements showed tremor amplitude decreased by an average of 35%. But here's the critical point. You can't just drink more plain water. Drinking large amounts of water without electrolytes can actually worsen the problem by further diluting your electrolyte concentrations. You need water with appropriate electrolytes, particularly sodium. For optimal hydration, drink 2 to 2.5 liters of water daily, but add a pinch of high-quality sea salt to your water.
Approximately 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt per liter provides sodium and trace minerals that improve cellular hydration. Don't drink huge amounts at once. Your body can only absorb about 200–300 milliliters per hour efficiently. Sip consistently throughout the day. Additionally, ensure adequate potassium intake from foods: bananas, oranges, potatoes, spinach, avocados, beans. Aim for 3,500–4,700 milligrams daily. Within days of implementing proper hydration with electrolytes, many people notice their muscles feel less tense, less twitchy. The subtle tremor they'd grown accustomed to often diminishes noticeably. Integrating all 5 causes, your complete anti-tremor protocol. Your comprehensive evaluation and treatment protocol should include, first, blood tests to assess red blood cell magnesium, not just serum magnesium, vitamin B12 and methylmalonic acid, thyroid function, TSH, free T3, free T4, copper, and ceruloplasmin if you take zinc supplements.
Second, supplementation based on what's deficient: 1,000 to 2,000 micrograms sublingual B12 daily or weekly or monthly injections. 2 to 3 milligrams copper daily if you take zinc or have confirmed deficiency. 400 to 500 milligrams magnesium glycinate daily divided into 2 doses. Proper hydration with electrolytes throughout the day. Third, medical treatment of thyroid dysfunction if present. Within 2 to 3 months of correcting nutritional deficiencies and optimizing hydration, most people with essential tremor experience significant improvement. The tremor may not disappear completely, particularly if it's been present for many years and has caused permanent changes in the nervous system, but it typically reduces by 50 to 80% in severity, dramatically improving quality of life and function. Your tremor, which you feared was Parkinson's or another incurable neurodegenerative disease, turns out to be treatable, caused by simple deficiencies you can correct. That's not just reassuring, it's life-changing.
Now we want to hear from you. Do you have hand tremor? In what situations does it occur? Will you ask for these blood tests? Tell us in the comments. And if you know someone with hand tremor who's living in fear of Parkinson's, share